now I'm literally like, you know, I've been asking like, who's next?
Would you fight one of the Paul brothers?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
That's the goal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Recently, there seems to be a bulging crossover between the fighting community and the YouTube community, and people have a lot of opinions about that, which are mixed to say the least. Some say it is destroying the martial arts integrity and selling it off, while some say this is a great opportunity, especially for the fighters to bring in and make more money, which is only going to benefit the sport. And if the recent Paul versus Mayweather match was any indication, it clearly shows both sides of the coin. But in today's video, we're going to be talking about this upcoming fight between YouTube star Logan Paul and the UFC legend Anderson Silva, who are in talks for a boxing match in 2021. Here's what you need to know. But before we start, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on so you don't miss any of the new videos we post. It's a little to digest, we're not going to lie. Seeing an absolute legend like Anderson the Spider Silva, the former UFC middleweight king and the one who's had the longest reign as champion, fight this YouTube kid who has a rookie-ish record of 0-1. How is that even a fair fight, you might ask? Well, after the fight we witnessed between Floyd Mayweather and Logan Paul in June, this doesn't come as much of a shocker. This is a new chapter of combat sports as we know it. What we do know so far about the fight is that the YouTube star and UFC legend are discussing a boxing match that would take place later this year. Paul's manager, Jeff Levin, says that the bout between the former middleweight champ and Paul is seeming inevitable now. But for the ones who are a little confused, here's how it all started. Silva, a few months ago, mentioned in an interview with MMA Junkie that he'd like to fight one of the Paul brothers. I respect both, and I respect the sport. I think everything's possible. I think it's the next fight, maybe with Logan Paul, maybe, the former champ said. And then, much to everybody's surprise, DMs were leaked from MMA fighter Dylan Denise that claimed a huge event will be happening in Dubai on September 19th, with the main card being Logan Paul versus Anderson Silva. That set the whole internet on fire because this is just crazy, isn't it? This would mark the first time that Paul has fought against a mixed martial artist in the boxing ring for a professional bout, while his younger brother Jake Paul has already paved the way by getting in the ring with former Olympic MMA fighter Ben Askren in April, and now is gearing up to fight the former UFC welterweight champion Tyrone Woodley. As for Silva, who happens to be a very well-rounded fighter, he has said in an interview that he'd love to be in a boxing match, and if this bout materializes, it will be Silva's third professional boxing bout. Just recently, he made a comeback, winning against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., who was a former middleweight boxing title holder in June, and with Silva's comments like, "I need to prove my respect for boxing," he seems very committed to proving himself as a proficient striker. So it isn't entirely impossible. And, if we're honest, this will give Silva an excellent opportunity to make some big bucks in the millions, which he wasn't able to do during his MMA career because of the wage discrepancy in these promotions. And the MMA community is betting on Anderson Silva as the favorite going into the fight. But, on the flip side, it seems that the tables have turned because the eager beavers at betonline.ag are laying odds on this potential circus act, with Paul opening as the -200 betting favorite over the Spider, who is currently sitting as the +160 underdog, which is not very realistic if we're honest. These are betting and marketing tricks and gimmicks to sell it because it doesn't make sense to place them this way. And the outcome of the fight depends on a variety of factors if you think about it, especially in terms of betting. They could have the unsanctioned fight be fixed and have Silva lose, if there's a hefty enough check offered, or they could have an exhibition bout where they declare a draw at the end of the fight. If, by any chance, the fight is a sanctioned boxing match and there are judges on board, there isn't a doubt about the fact that Silva takes this one home easily. After all, Silva's fighting style is primarily that of stand-up. He's employed as Muay Thai, Taekwondo, and boxing on multiple occasions, being considered one of the best strikers of all time, despite being a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. Based on technical merit alone, it should be pretty obvious who wins this one. Just for the rookies who don't know much about what or why Anderson Silva is considered the legend that he is, Silva's technical and physical prowess was a force to be reckoned with. Silva's striking strengths include technical precision, his clean jab, transitions, and movement, and even volume for that matter. Silva threw a total of 392 punches versus Chavez Jr.'s 153. He primarily uses an orthodox boxing stance, but he's very quick to switch to southpaw to throw off the opponent's timing, precision, and power. The fighters who use a southpaw are generally very comfortable against orthodox style fighters because they enjoy greater range control and can play with them mentally too. which Logan Paul is. Meanwhile, Logan competed in an exhibition boxing event with Floyd Mayweather in June, a Showtime pay-per-view special that was a tremendous commercial success, but not as much of a one that displayed a striking clinic if we're honest. The internet lit up with memes about the fight because the match was considered more to be a snuggle fest. The fans who paid $50 per pay-per-view soon regretted it, and now you know why. His boxing isn't as good as his PR tactics. But you never know, it's a fight. Anything can happen, right? That's what the fight game is all about. Paul's last bout, which was an unsanctioned fight with no official winner, lasted the scheduled 8 rounds. "I'll be putting on prize fights," Paul said following the event when asked what was next. "I'm sure there's a list of opponents on Twitter, people chirping, saying this, saying that. I'll pick one, make them get embarrassed." Logan Paul, if anything, sure does have the chip on his shoulder, and that's what helps him sell fights. There's no determination if a bout with Silva, assuming a deal is completed, would be a sanctioned boxing match or a novelty exhibition, revealed Paul's manager. "We just haven't got there yet," Levin said. Paul is 0-1 as a pro fighter, his loss coming via decision against fellow social media personality KS1 in November 2019. Since then, Paul has pushed beyond the social media sphere with an appearance at WrestleMania 37 in April, followed by the exhibition with Mayweather. So even if we can't say much about his training, he sure is working to build up his boxing career, and with the right tools and resources, he could break his way into the fighting community. And with the whole superstar underdog selling point, who knows? He might even step his game up to show the world he's as good a fighter as he is an influencer troll. Another fascinating aspect of this fight is that they're equal in physicality. Both Anderson and Paul are 6 feet 2 inches, with 77.5 inches and 76 inches respectively. Silva's fighting weight is 185 pounds, while Paul usually weighs in around 189.6 pounds. The only differentiating factor is their age, with a 20-year difference, so apart from the last factor, this makes it a pretty even fight. As spectators, you have to give them both a fair chance, and for Paul, a little benefit of the doubt. However, let's cut back to Anderson the Spider Silva, who made his pro boxing debut in 1998. More than 7 years later, he competed in the boxing ring again, this time scoring a second-round KO in 2005, and that is when the Brazilian made his UFC debut the following year. Silva is one of the most recognizable draws in MMA history, with 18 headline appearances on UFC pay-per-view and UFC record 16-fight winning streak. However, Silva was released from the UFC after he suffered a 4th-round TKO defeat to Uriah Hall in October, his 7th loss in his past 9 outings in the octagon. But because of that, you must not underestimate him. He might not be in his absolute prime as an athlete anymore, but his spark as a fighter still continues to thrive. All in all, there's no doubt about the fact that this is a big audience and big money fight. That's generating a lot of buzz, especially for the people who are just getting into the sport. People are going to be seeing a seasoned veteran, former champion brawl against a hungry and ambitious newcomer who knows how to sell and prove himself. What's not to like? And that's all for today, folks. That was all you needed to know for the potential upcoming bout between Logan Paul and Anderson Silva. Stay tuned for more updates, but until then, ciao.